We were able to make a complex process simple. We developed it in-house, so we are saving on software costs now. Processing time is also negligible. So my name's Sam. I'm a financial analyst at a mid-sized community bank. My responsibilities include forecasting, interest rate risk, liquidity risk, credit risk, and financial reporting. And financial reporting can range from building and writing commentary on financial statements to now building dashboards in Sigma. So I am a consumer of all financial data.
I'm Matt. I work on the data team here. I basically do a little bit of everything when it comes to the data, getting the data in, transforming it, getting into a usable state for the end users. But my main role is the reporting side of things. So I spend a lot of time in Sigma creating those end reports for the users. So in our old system, things were very cut and dry. It was pretty much just spreadsheets in a table format and just outlining whatever that specific report was showing. So it was basically the users would have to sift through those tables and find whatever it was that they were looking for. And it was basically simple as that, no visualizations or anything to it, really.
We needed a solution for funds transfer pricing. So banks, they have two primary activities. We lend out money for loans, and then we bring in deposits, and we earn interest on the loans, and then we pay interest out on the deposits. So if we're looking at the income statement for our different branches, each branch is going to show interest income on loans and then interest expense for the deposits. But there could be a situation where you have a branch that has very few or next to no loans, but they might happen to have most of the deposits in the bank. In that situation, their income statement will show no interest income because they don't have many loans, but they still have to pay the interest expense on the deposits. Those deposits that those branches have do have value, so it's kind of unfair to them. At the top of the house, we aggregate all of the deposits and we put that cash to work. We give it to other branches to lend out. We buy investments with it. We put that money to work, but the branch with the deposits doesn't directly see the benefit of them on their income statement. So there has to be a way to put a value to those deposits and also to give a charge for making loans and allocate that out to the branches. The process for doing that is called funds transfer pricing. Funds transfer pricing assigns rates on loans and deposits. You charge branches for making loans and then you credit them for making deposits. These rates are determined at the instrument level, and they factor in such things as the average life or the term of a financial product, the interest rate characteristics of these instruments, and then the time when they're originated. It's a somewhat complicated process, but the end result is a clear picture of branch profitability. We needed a process that could, one, perform the complex calculations involved in funds transfer pricing, and two, provide output that was easy to digest and easy to research variances. So we decided that we could probably do this in Sigma. So we built a dashboard for processing funds transfer pricing. We started by working on the logical flow of funds transfer pricing. It's a fairly complex process, so we wrote custom queries in Sigma for the calculations. We built out the dashboard and had a long list of inputs that fed into the funds transfer pricing calculation. Along that time, Matt was diving into Streamline apps on Snowflake. So we talked about it and determined that it would be best to run that process, the actual calculation of funds transfer pricing in Snowflake, then create a data set that we could reference in Sigma for analysis and monthly processing.
So Sam approached me and with this application that he built in Sigma, and was telling me that he'd had some performance issues because of the long load times for the tables. So the queries he had written were doing some complex calculations, as he talked about, on tables with over 100 million records. So you could guess that that'll lessen the performance. But Sigma runs their queries in a Snowflake environment, and we have a direct connection to it. So our thought was just perform these calculations directly within Snowflake. So we reconstructed the queries to create temporary tables with pre-calculated data in Streamlit, and then we consolidated all that into one single table that Sam could use, and it contained all the necessary calculations for time deposits, demand deposits, and loans. So this approach allowed us to run the calculation only once, reducing the cost on our end since we no longer had to recalculate them each time the report was loaded. And as a result, Sam now only needs to reference one data set in the report, and the elements on the report itself now load faster. So it's a better user experience all around.
And with the funds transfer pricing data available in Snowflake and accessible in Sigma, we were able to build a dashboard for the monthly processing. The dashboard includes controls for limiting what is processed and posted to the branches. For example, we may not want to pay for deposit credits for all branches, or charge all loan products. The dashboard also includes various checks of the data. It checks inputs for reasonableness, checks if we're posting to any branches that we really shouldn't be posting income to. We have clear, pretty easy sanity checks to prevent mistakes while we're processing. In the same dashboard for processing, we also gained very clear insight into what is driving variances. With all of the data pretty neatly organized in our funds transfer pricing data set, we're able to build rate volume analysis. So for a given branch, we can see if they made more deposit credits because they have higher deposit balances or because the credit rates changed. Same thing for loans. We can see how much of the change in charges are due to balances and then how much is due to rates. Rates often change pretty significantly month over month. So we built graphs to compare last month's yield curve to this month's yield curve so we can make sure that our FTP rates are heading in the right direction. And then on the final tab on our spreadsheet, everything brings all of the components of it together to create a posting file that the user has to click a button and download, and then it is ready to post, upload to our general ledger system. Most of the time we spent during development was actually building out the methodology of what we wanted to do with funds transfer pricing. Once we had that figured out, implementing the dashboard for processing in Sigma took less than a week. So my team uses this app to analyze and process funds transfer pricing for all of our different branches, a fairly complicated process that most banks outsource. So I think it's pretty cool that we were able to develop it in-house. Right now, we're just using it for branch profitability. However, we now have this funds transfer pricing data at the instrument level, and this data is needed for product and customer level profitability. So that is where we are going next. Down the road, we hope to have full-fledged profitability analysis any way you want to cut it.
So from a branch profitability reporting perspective, the workflow has become significantly more efficient. Depending on how large the change, we can now make changes to the system in Sigma in under an hour. Additionally, we've gained capabilities in terms of data visualization. So now we could create user guides and put KPIs and graphs and elements that we didn't have before. So this kind of helps us also guide users directly to areas where they need to focus. So this kind of eliminates that need for users to go through the tables of data in search of those key insights. We're kind of just telling them where they need to look, and it streamlines their ability to quickly identify what matters most.
We were able to make a complex process simple. We developed it in-house, so we are saving on software costs now. Processing time is also negligible for a pretty important process. It's taking just a few minutes to process every single month. So we have more time available for research and analysis. And our visibility into what is driving variances is now much more clear. So we're able to provide answers more accurately and quickly to the business heads that come to us asking about their income statement. We're not done. We don't believe that we've yet achieved our best results, which is full profitability analysis. So that will come. I would say to people in my position who are more on the finance and accounting side and less on the IT side, spend time getting to know what data you have to work with, learn it, practice it, search for use cases for it so you can get more exposure to your data, then start having the perspective of, what can I do with this? What processes can I do better.
From an IT perspective, I think the most important thing is making sure that your data is clean and usable so that people like Sam who don't have that full understanding of what happens on the back end can use these tables and data sets in reporting, because Sigma really makes it easy to create a report, but making sure everything is clean and showing the correct data is very important. So it makes his life easier and less questions on our end. I'm really interested in the capabilities of the forecasting. I think it gives us the ability to not only provide insight into where we are right now, but where we are projected to be in the future. And I think that can be very powerful when it comes to making these data-driven decisions.
I'd say what I'm looking forward to most is getting down to full profitability. That's going to be a big win whenever we do it.
Explore Sigma, see all the tools that are available. It's definitely one of the best reporting tools that I've used, and it makes things very easy. And I think there's a lot of capabilities in it that everyday users may not see. I think it's a great tool and people should use it.
No, I just think that, combining Snowflake and Sigma, I feel like there's a lot of processes that you'd be able to kind of bring in-house and do yourself if people were interested in it.